Hello my beautiful people, welcome back to Being Molly Jane. You know it is here where we make ordinary foods in extraordinary way and make them taste differently in a special way. So in this episode of Being Molly Jane, we will be preparing samosas, and these are very beginner friendly samosas because trust me, it was my first time making samosas and they turned out perfectly. Like I didn't even believe I made them for the first time. So we are making some green gram samosas, and I have sorted my green gram, and these are the dirt that I've taken out of the green gram. This includes any stones, chaff, and other greens that are not green grams. And here is my sorted green gram, and I'm going to wash this and boil them. So meanwhile, while my green grams are boiling, I'm going to go ahead to make the dough that I will be using to make my samosa pockets, and that is all-purpose flour that I've added salt to, and now I'm adding some sugar, and it is optional to add sugar or even salt if you don't prefer using salt. Then I'm just using cold water to mix it with a spoon before I go in with my fingers. And be careful when adding the water. I added too much water in mine that I had to add some flour, which means I had too much dough than what I intended to have. So you're going to knead this for some time until it is ready. Then I've covered it and I'll let it stay for like 10 minutes as I check on my green grams, which from the look of things are ready. Then I'll set aside the green grams to cool down as I work on my dough. I've cut it into 8 equal pieces. Then I'll go to this next step of making some small circles out of the doughs or out of the dough balls. I'll be making the circles as I put them aside like that. So I ended up with a total of 8 circle doughs, and then I'll be adding oil like this and spreading it entirely on the surface of the dough to cover the entire circumference of the dough as I put another dough on top. Then I'll add another oil, and I'll add some oil again on top of this dough and put another one on top of it, and I'll be working with 4 each. Since I have 8 pieces, I'll be taking 4. I'll use 4 at a time. So this is the first batch, and I'm going to sprinkle some flour on top of this, and then I am going to spread it using my rolling pin. Now notice that when you are spreading the dough, the one at the bottom will shrink and then the one at the top will spread further. So try to control the rolling. So keep turning to ensure that they are both spread properly, and I'll do that until I form a circle with my doughs. And I don't want to stretch it so big because I'll be putting it on top of a tower, and I don't want it to be bigger than, I don't want the dough to be, the circumference to be bigger than that one of the tower. So I've done that to the first batch, and I'm going to repeat the same to the second batch. Now that is done, I'm going to be slightly cooking this, or maybe drying it on top of a tower or a pan if you like. Then ensure that you're not cooking it, it is just to dry it. So I'll keep on turning it so that it doesn't cook or it doesn't heat from one point, and then I'll flip it over for the other side to also dry a bit. So I'm flipping it over I've just turned it around. Then now I'm going ahead to flip it over, and I'll also heat this for like for roughly 30 seconds, about 30 seconds, so that it doesn't cook. Then I'll start peeling or removing one dough at a time as I turn, and remove one dough at a time. The heat makes it easy to separate the doughs at this point. These are the ones that we are going to use to make our samosa pockets. So once that was done, I did the same to the other batch. Then I went ahead to prepare my green grams. So I grated some garlic to some oil on fire. Notice that I grated it before the oil was hot because I was grating it on oil, so I didn't want them to burn. Then I added some red onions once the garlic browned slightly, and I'm going to stir this onion for like a minute until they are wilted. Then I went ahead to add my green grams. So to these green grams, I will stir them. Then I'm going to add my spices, and in this recipe I used 1 Royco cube, I used some curry powder, and also used some paprika. Unfortunately, I lost the video footage of me adding the rest of the ingredients, but that is what I added and stirred and let it cook with the spices for like 1 to 2 minutes before removing it from the fire and letting it cool down as I work on my dough pockets. Sorry, samosa pockets, as I work on my doughs to make some samosa pockets. So I have 4, like I told you, I'm working on 4 at a time. So this is the first batch. So I'm going to cut them into semicircles like that. And once I'm done cutting it into semicircles, I'm going to cut off the edges. Notice that some of the edges are still are thicker or are thick. So I'm going to cut off the edges of the doughs to this point, just like that, because notice that some of the edges are thick or heavy, if you may call it like that. Then I'll put those aside and I'll use them later to make some crepes, some wheat crepes. Now I'll go ahead and make some glue using wheat flour and water, or flour and water. These are the glues that I'll be using to seal my samosas in the samosa pockets. Now I'm going ahead to make my samosa envelopes or pockets, and this is what I'll be doing. I'll be folding one side of the, let me put it down here so that you can see it properly. So I'll fold one side of the dough and flip the other one over it. Then I will apply some of my glue. And I don't know what my neighbor is hitting on top of my house. He always does that. Now I'm going to put in my samosa filling, which in this case is green grams. I'll put in the filling. Then I'm going to fold like you have seen, and add my glue on top of this. Then I'll flip over the other side to ensure that it is completely sealed. And I'm going to press it slightly just to ensure it is sealed properly and the content of the samosa will not get out when I'll be deep frying them. So I did that to the rest of the samosas. to the rest of the sheets, and I didn't notice I was working out of the camera or off the camera. So now that is done, I'm going to put some oil in my, I don't know if is it called skillet or a pan. Then after heating for some time, I tested if the oil was ready with some of the excess dough that I cut from the samosas while I was preparing. Then I went ahead with my samosas. And look at them, guys. They're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. I don't even believe I made them the first time and they turned out that good. So when they were golden brown, I removed them from oil and went in with my second batch. Making these samosas was so enjoyable, and it was even satisfying that they were so nice. So for this second batch, I leave them when they're still light brown. There are people in my house who prefer samosas light brown. But they shouldn't worry. Now that I know how to make, I'll be making for them. Hear the crunch, hear the crunch. Now to the rest of my excess dough that I cut, this is what I did with them. I made some chips, and these were very nice. They are very crunchy on my teeth, very nice. I really enjoyed making this video. Now if you've watched this video up to this point, it is definitely because you like it. So show some love and like the video, share, subscribe, and see you in my next video. Until then, I love you all. Bye. Subscribe.